Whenever you travel from a bus, everybody would rush for the window seat. Why? If I give you a photograph of a very nice scenery, you will feel good. But if I take you to that place, biophilia is what? It's the connect of nature to the human.
Human content or human intent in sync with the nature.
Not just greenery. Greenery happens to be a big part of it, but there are other elements. Like if you notice, there are things like flows, like just the sound of water. That's also part of biophilia.
Every fourth Indian is suffering with some form of depression.
Everywhere we are just surrounded by stress. You go to college students or you go to any workplace or you go to senior citizens, everybody around us is stressed out. So whichever space we design, it as an architect I feel it is our basic element. It has become our basic element to start our designs with, and to keep that as a central idea of connecting all the spaces to the nature.
Big office buildings, you'll notice they have courtyards, and those courtyards will have some water body, they'll have some sort of greenery. Either they'll have a green wall, they'll be hanging greeneries or something of that sort. Some offices, their cafeterias will have like a balcony, and they'll have a lot of plants in the balcony where people can just sit and have lunch or have snacks or their tea time. We are realizing that we've detached ourselves from nature a lot and we want to go back to it.
If you plant something, a simple plant even in a pot, and keep it in your house, the next day you will find that there are little ants following that pot. Once it starts flowering, there will be certain bugs coming to it. There will be maybe butterflies coming to it. So it's an entire ecosystem that you plant.
You'll always notice that wherever you spend the most amount of time, that is the place that you usually tend to change. It adds character to their space. It's not just how they feel about it, but it also adds some character to the space. And this feeling has intensified in the last 1 or 2 years of pandemic, when people were at home for longer periods of time.
And you will also feel that the environment, or there is some change in the climate inside your room. Okay, the oxygen is boosted, so there is positivity everywhere, the temperature drops down. So one plant, if it can do so much of a change, or there is so much of a cycle just related to one plant. Just imagine if we do one green pocket or a garden around something, the entire ecosystem changes.
if suppose a wanderer, a man wandering into the deep wood, and he or she is thirsty, they will like to listen to that, the water sound, where the water is coming from. The moment they catch that water sound, they will be able to, satisfy that need of the body. It's in the muscle memory basically. We have this information stored in our muscle memory that we cannot live or survive without our connection with nature. So either it is available naturally outside or it is replicated in our designs.
Any patterns that you see in nature, okay, are the patterns that will be considered biophilic. For example, you see a creeper, that's a vine, it's a very flowy kind of a design. Forms that reflect anything that is in nature. Spiral forms are very abundant in nature. If you see the shell of a snail, it's spiral, and those when incorporated in any space, that can be considered a biophilic element.
Why do we think about workspace? Let's talk about hospital. You are going for treatment or you are admitted, you are spending a couple of weeks in a hospital. You will not like to be in a room where it's just concrete, and a tube light somewhere.
There's a term called healing landscapes or healing gardens, which is also a part of biophilia. So by developing certain green spaces and pockets and creating a natural environment, it has been found out that the recovery rate of patients, it multiplies so many times.
Anything that is for the betterment of us, the acceleration, the escalation of our emotional and physical health, the environment needs to be modified.
It always takes a while to realize that you don't have something. The biggest difference between an artificial plant and a live plant is that an artificial plant will not grow. It's not dynamic enough. You may have stuffed toys around in the house, but it's not the same as having a real dog or a cat, right? It gives you the same softness, the same, all warm feelings and fuzzy, but it's not the same as a live thing. The same goes with plants.
But human being has a very unique characteristics of adaptation. It's all about how we utilize them. It's all about how we make the best out of it. Yes, artificial grasses are there, but they do have at least 80% similar feeling on your foot. When you walk on those artificial grasses, you feel like walking on a grass. But if you constantly think, oh, this is artificial and it's not natural, then you're not helping yourself. You have to accept it, okay, this is equally good and I'm living it. That's it.
The connect is important. So even Vastu Shastra is based on the location of that place on earth. It starts from which hemisphere that location falls in, northern or southern, because in northern hemisphere the sun path is different, the climatic conditions are different, the seasons are different. So, it is all scientifically or climatically related.
So Vastu is not about only prosperity. Vastu is also about the wind circulation, the air circulation, the light from east to west, the sun, the movement is there. So, how to capture the maximum light. So, they used to build the windows in such a way that maximum sun rays used to come inside the house. Once you are having the sun rays, you are eliminating the germs. Biophilic design, maybe it's a very modern term, very Western term, but as Indians, we have been designing houses in a similar manner since medieval age, since so many years. Go to any village and look at the houses and try to identify how they have been made. You will see that all the elements has been taken care of while building, including a tulsi plant in front of the house, because it's an air purifier.
The reason they are called air purifying is because they take up more of the pollutants from the air, they use it up themselves, and they only give off oxygen.
We have these 5 senses in us, and unless we are very aware about these senses, we don't enjoy. And how do we make ourselves aware? Only when we are in sync with nature. Our whole nervous system is basically functioning on these 5 senses. Ironically, I mean, it's a sad part of it. There's a saying that, you destroy the forest and you plant a tree in your balcony, which doesn't make sense. But at the same time, if we have to cater to the need, the population and everything, then somewhere we have to bring the nature inside.
What goes around comes around, right? If you talk about deforestation, or rather urbanization, it's not really deforestation, it's development, right? And that is also equally required, okay? Like, for example, if you said somebody built a building by cutting down trees, well, you needed shelter. Our population is growing, so it's a requirement, it's a need of that time. But there is always some form that requires you to go back to nature. That's why I said it's like what goes around comes around.